Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Terrestrial Material, where we talk about the material us terrestrials are interested in. Happy Sunday, everybody. How you guys doing? It's been a wild week, no? Holy. What a week. What a week. God, you kind of sometimes wonder where to begin, especially after yesterday. I'm not going to go into a bunch of stuff that's going on in the world, guys. I want to kind of let you know that up front. You're going to hear enough about that's going on, and you're probably going to hear from a whole lot better sources than me on what the story is and everything like that. I mean, it bothers me. I'll at least say that, the world bothers me, but we're going to go ahead and try to push past that today and have a little bit of fun. All right. John, good to see you. Rotary, Moody Mongol. Good to see you guys in the chat there. Welcome, welcome. There is a lot to go over. I think it's fitting though that I first kind of thank everybody for the support on the interview with Philip Mantle. You guys, that got a lot of views. I mean, it got a lot of views for our channel on Twitter here, but on YouTube, but on Twitter, the clip that I posted got a lot of love, man. It really kind of went around a lot for this community. So it's very cool. Thank you guys very much for that. I can't take all the credit. Philip Mantle is an awesome guest, dude. He was amazing to talk to. So knowledgeable. When you have interviews that are like that, number one, those interviews that are like that are very hard to come by. And I feel like anyone that's done 5 or more interviews over time can kind of understand that. And what I mean is like from the very beginning, just to kind of give you guys a little bit of a background on it. I got the time wrong when I invited him, right? And I blame Google a little bit for that, because when I said for 6 p.m. GMT, Google told me that was 2 p.m. EST. It's because I'm EST. So I got the email from him at 1 EST being like, hey, where's my invite? What's going on? And I felt bad, man. A little bit, because I was like, oh man, I got this guy waiting. And so I didn't really know how to take it. I wondered if he was going to be angry a little bit, or, maybe he was going to get there and maybe not just be as open with the interview. I couldn't have been more wrong. And when he joined in, he was happier than ever to be here with me and having the conversation. And he was telling me about all the times where he got the times wrong when he was trying to interview people. And so he totally understood, like completely. And so I knew right off the bat that he was going to be awesome to talk to. Me and him, I mean, you know me, guys. I'm laid back, and so is he. So I just knew right off the top. I said, before I even hit record, this is going to be a good interview. I'm interested in the topic. He's interested. He wants to be here. I want to be here. You just don't get those very often. So when you do get them, it's a real treat. And I really love that interview, man. I'm proud of that one. That one, I think. Hey, look, am I Tucker Carlson? Am I the greatest interviewer in the world? No, of course. I'm learning still. But that one I'm proud of. I think I did good on that one. But that kind of brings me to my next point. We used to do more interviews kind of on this channel prior to the last 2 or 3 months. But as I've been, requesting out there for interviews, subscriptions to the channel matter. Like they do. Not to say that people only care about clout and stuff like that for interviews, because to be honest with you, a lot of the people that I've spoke to that are kind of the higher ups, like we've talked to Stephen Bassett, Grant Cameron, now Philip Mantle. These guys are big names, man. They're not like YouTubers though. Like, they're big ufologists. Those guys have been more open to just kind of seeing my channel being smaller and just jumping on board, where I'm not going to name names, but certain YouTube channels, I think they stare at the numbers a little bit more, but I think that's because they're so used to staring at the numbers, and the numbers may mean much more to them down the road. So there are guests that I would like to have that are other channels. And that's why subbing really matters. It's not as much of a money thing. Really, I know that maybe sounds strange, but the sub count definitely makes it more possible to continue to get guests and get really great people. So like, share, subscribe, dude, it actually does matter for that. And you guys know me, I don't sit around here and beg. That's not my style, dude. If you guys like the content, you're going to do your own thing with it, and I appreciate it. Now, with that out of the way, I did want, since we're still kind of on the theme of the interview with Philip Mantle from Monday, I did want to go over first thing a clip that has come out. It's developing story, And let me get rid of this really fast. You know, let's just go over the full browser while we can, huh? Let's make a move over. How you doing, Moody? Good to see you. Fishlock, good to see you as well. I said, well, terrestrial will soon be known as the Walter Cronkite ufology. Hey, dude, I mean, it'd be cool. It'd be cool. Look, I like doing the interviews, dude. I really do. The other thing I'll say before I play this clip, because it's once again related, is that if you noticed, I've harped on this a lot with this channel, that I want to bring you guys new stuff. Like, I don't want to just talk about old topics all the time. However, Pascagoula is just such an interesting case because there are so many current themes and new things that we're learning. So look, I'm still keeping my word. I'm bringing you guys new stuff the best I can. But so here this is. If you guys, oh wait, you guys can't see this. Oh, I just gave you guys all my notes. I just gave you guys all my notes. Hold on. Let me see. Where's my full browser? Where it's at here? Hold on a second, boys. You guys got the behind the scenes right there. So wait a second. If I go full browser, that should take me over to... One second. Technical issues, boys and girls, ladies, gentlemen. Why is it doing that? Why is it pulling my browser from there? Hold on. We'll fix it. Now we're going to go over here. Okay, we're fixed. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. This is untypical. I'm trying to grab my frickin' chat down here now. Come on. When you see the world in 2 dimensions, the Earth is flat. I know it sounds random to most people, but... Dude, guys, give me 1 second. Okay, holy, dude. Oh, God almighty. Okay, listen, so when I started OBS today, dude, it screwed up like really bad. So there it is. Anyway, back on track here. Good Lord. There's a lot to go over too, by the way, today. So we'll see how much I can really get to at once. However, this is Maria Blair. This is the woman that's in the book. Okay. In the Pascagoula book, and I'm off track. I'm trying to get myself back on track. So Philip mentioned that there was a recording of her regression, if I remember correctly, of her talking about her account. Like, they have that recording. Now, this is a recording of her talking about her encounter. Okay. So the interesting part about this is it's 5.5 minutes, and I don't want to play the whole thing because it's a long time, but I do want to give you guys a little bit of a clip, and so you can get a little bit more of a knowledge of who this is and get a feel for her and her story, how she tells the story. Do you think it's legitimate? Do you think it's not? And I do have a link to the whole article in the description below, and that's going to go over not only just more about it, but it will have this clip so you can watch the whole thing yourself. So let's jump over and we'll play a little bit of this opening clip here of Maria Blair.
So do they think that your incident was before or after the other one?
I believe because I was watching them from my car, so I know it had to been after.
Oh, so you watched it from your car before?
Yes.
Okay, so it couldn't have been the same time either. Okay.
So and this is like Calvin. So they left twice. When they brought Calvin and Charlie back, when they brought them back from the spaceship, it took off, and that's when I seen it go down. They like to follow the river or the roads and stuff as you use them for maps.
You were outside or inside your car?
I was inside my car.
And
so yeah, I think she sounds like she's telling a pretty good story. And I think the more that this goes on too, you'll notice how she uses her hands to describe the highway and the detail is really, really interesting here.
He was inside the car. Both of you were inside
the car. Okay. And I'm looking down, and I seen Calvin and Charlie down there fishing. And so I'm looking what's going on all around me, because I had nothing else to do. So when I look off in the distance, I seen, which I thought was an airplane, come over towards Gaucher, come in my view, and so I'm just watching it, and I'm thinking, oh, that's a UFO. You know how you just see something, so I'm gonna watch that. I said,
I get distracted easily. I'm always looking at my windows like, what's that? What's that?
I said, well, I'm just gonna watch that and see what that does.
I would have done the same thing. Entertainment.
Yeah, just because I was bored, and so it kind of like there's Highway 90. It followed the length of followed the Highway 90. It stayed right there like it was a map, and it come down. And right before, we had a drawbridge back then. It's not the same bridge.
You notice how she's just going with the conversation. She's point to point to point to point. There's no thinking. There's no, I don't know. There isn't any of that. She's just recounting this entire process to you. And it's so fluid. It's very, very good.
And right before it got to the...
And you got to remember, this isn't someone who's like schooled in, giving these accounts like someone like Bob Lazar, right? Like Lazar has told his story so many times, but he's told his story so many times in front of like a lot of really, high pressure moments, big interviews, went on Joe Rogan. I mean, he had the migraine, little mishap that went on with that. However, I won't take that away from Bob. But he's a bit more seasoned with it. This is someone who's not seasoned and is telling you the story. We'll play a little bit more for you guys, and then I'll leave you to go over the rest of it on your own.
A drawbridge, it crossed over and come down, and I told my husband, I said, I didn't know there was a little airstrip over there, because it come down like it was landing.
And that was on the other side of the river by where Charlie and
over where Charlie
okay.
was at. Yeah, and then it came down, and when it come down, it's come over by where they were at, and it come up behind them.
Okay.
And so it kind of like was in the marsh, but I'm thinking it's a little space place over there where they can land, landing place. But it wasn't. It was they was just hovering over the marsh.
And
yeah, so really interesting, man. Obviously make the judgment for yourself on what you think is real or not. But I can't recommend that book enough, man. So if you want to hear and read the regression transcript, oh God, I can't even talk. The regression transcript that she goes through, it's really awesome. So there's a little bit of an extra teaser for you. And yeah, I think you guys will really enjoy that. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about today, because I went through the Mellon AARO highlight report where Mellon gives his response to it. That's going to be a lot of the show today. So I wanted to be able to get some of these important things in the front end over, and then we can spend a little bit more time on that Mellon article because, dude, it's huge and it's very, very detailed. Very interesting stuff. So as you see on the thumbnail, the Roswell Police Department has changed their patch. And the reason why this was interesting was because, I mean, when you see the patch in the thumbnail, right, it's very cool. You got the two alien heads, and it really stands out. It looks very, very, how do you say it? I don't know. You guys can make up your own mind on it. We'll play the clip here, but this is News Nation. Ross Coulthart is talking to the chief of police from Roswell about the patch change, and you get a little bit more detail. And the link for this whole interview is also in the description, but it's pretty cool. We'll go over some of this.
The city of Roswell has made a very interesting decision. Simply because they're the town that's famous for where a spacecraft allegedly crashed in 1947, and it's become a town for people who are fascinated by the possibilities that it might be a location for extraterrestrial.
Really quick, look at that sign for Welcome to Roswell. That's awesome, dude. I really do like the graphic design a lot, man. That sign really sticks out. It's clean. I like the kind of simple look from it, too. It's very, very cool. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Good to see you as well, dude.
Phenomena. The city's police force has uniform patches, brand new uniform patches, that, frankly, are out of this world. Unveiled very recently, the new patches reveal the official city logo of a flying saucer with a classic beam radiating down to form the letter R.
Very cool, huh? Very cool. Yeah, I wonder who they got to design this stuff. There's a couple other patches that are... well, obviously, some of the Apollo ones are really cool, and there's some Space Force patches. I'm going to show you guys a couple of those Space Force patches after this clip. I think there's like 2 or 3 clips I have of this interview that are actually interesting. And yeah, the logo, it's so clean and neat. I like the green color. They're kind of taking my green a little bit. I don't know. Maybe my green's a little bit darker, but I don't know. It's close.
The words protect and serve those that land here, form a circle.
Those that land here. Isn't that interesting too? Like they're being very fun with this. It's very whimsical. Like when I think of government agencies and things that you want taken very seriously, I didn't expect that for those that land here. You know?
And are separated by two tiny alien faces with large eyes. Police Chief Lance Bate.
Okay, that's the end of that clip. So yeah, it's very interesting. Man, they're really kind of they're stretching their legs here with this. So this is the next clip, and I kind of wondered if you're wondering the same thing. Why? Why would they do this? You know, why wouldn't they go with a more official, standard kind of patch for the uniform? Well, the police chief's going to go over that.
Congratulations on what I suspect is a very adventurous patch. What's the reason for this decision? Why have you created this new patch?
Well, when I got chief last year, in the 1st of June, some of the questions I had were to the officers were, what do you want to change with the department? Well, you know, what kind of improvements and such we can make. And some of the people had mentioned they thought it would be good to change the patch. It'd been over 30 years since we had a patch change. So I opened it up and gave them the opportunity to design one.
Yeah, it is a long time. 30 years is a really long time. Rotary says maybe it's a control to make a mockery of UFO. I don't know. I think, you know, he goes into the next clip where they starts talking about how important the Roswell event and just kind of the fanfare around that, around aliens and everything, is so important to the city. But yeah, I do think that I'm getting distracted by a text message there from my wife. Hold on a second. I should check it here. Okay, she's just saying she's leaving work. Yeah, it is interesting that it's been so long since they've changed it, but it's kind of at an interesting time because there's a lot of stigma, in my opinion, that's going back on the topic, and a lot of people are laughing at UFOs. We're back to the X-Files music again. So it's an interesting time. I don't know. It's kind of weird that they went at this point.
We had a lot of officers and personnel that put in their designs, and the command staff broke it down to 4, and then we let the officers vote on it, and that's the one that came out.
So there you go. They did a vote. How democratic. Yeah, so that's kind of how that pops up. There is one more clip I wanted to go over here. And this is he's gonna be talking about kind of the impact of the alien fanfare in Roswell.
Why aliens? Is it a big subject in Roswell even today, 77 years on from this mystery?
Come on, Ross. You know it's a big subject. Look at how he labels that question. I had to stop it right there for that. How you doing, Nick? Good to see you. Cosmic Twilight's in the house.
Incident?
Yeah, you know, we pretty much put it out whatever they wanted to design. We'd look at, and a lot of them put the alien theme on there. That's a big part of our community, probably for the last 30 years or so. It's a big tourist destination for people that want to come look at the UFOs. So wasn't so much when I was a kid growing up here, but it's grown a lot in the last 30 plus years, I guess.
Yeah, and you guys might have even sniped what I'm going to say next from my notes. Yeah, the 30 years, it was right around the time that the X-Files came out, 1993. I'll just double check. Yep, 1993. How about that? So it is interesting that's kind of when it took the most hold around that time. I think Aliens and UFOs probably took the most hold it ever did with that show. Everybody watched that show. My brother watched that show, and I remember watching it alongside him from time to time when I could sneak in. My parents sometimes would kind of knock me down from wanting to watch it or allow me to watch it with them because it was scary at that time, right? You had the X-Files music, and you knew it was creepy. But over the years, I've went back and watched the series a couple of times. But yeah. So, I mean, it makes sense that it could have been around that time frame where things really picked up. Now, there were a couple of the patches that we've seen that I was kind of alluding to earlier. This one here, this is the, if I'm remembering right, Space Delta 18 patch. This is the Delta 18 for Space Force. This is a little bit of an odd patch, right? If we want to do some more mentions of different patches that are interesting out there. You got your Sphynx head here and the star. I really wonder who does design these for the government, man. This is a pretty cool one, no? And then, what was the other one? There were some Apollo ones. I thought here's all these Apollo patches. One thing that I thought was interesting is that you have this patch. This is Apollo 12. Oh, I can zoom right in for you guys. You can see it great. How you doing, Jeff Garvey, John P? Good to see you guys. Good to see you. Thanks for coming. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but there's like a giant sailboat that's here, like a Magellan boat that's flying around. And so you have the old boat with the old kind of patch. So remember that. Keep that in mind. And then you can jump forward to this patch here now, or logo. I guess it's not really a patch, but this was supposedly at the time, and we know a little bit different now, but the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the NIM Aviation. Now you have a new patch with a new saucer, new boat. Which, yeah, I mean, obviously the whole story with this, which is interesting enough. Let me see if I can pull this up again here. Yeah, so I remember this came out with what? So Jeremy posted this, Corbell did on September 24th. And let me zoom. Jeremy Corbell posts, not a bad logo for the National Intelligence Manager for Aviation, a Lazar UFO in the official seal. Haha, radical. I still can't believe they did this. Well, they didn't do this, though. They found that it was actually posted anonymously. It was posted through the proper channels, but it was actually a fake. So in the words of Chris Mellon, somebody bent the rules a little bit and they updated this. This is not the logo for them anymore, but it would have been an interesting quote unquote patch when you really look at that. So yeah, there's a few more, a little interesting one for you. And I got a link for this article down here, I believe. Or no, it's the link for the Delta 18 Sphynx patch in the description if you guys want to just double check and see what Space Force is doing, because Space Force has a lot of these really interesting logos and things that are going on with it. So make sure you take a little look, man. See what you can find. Maybe you find something interesting as well. Now, the Debrief released the article from Chris Mellon. And we're just moving, guys, because we're already 24 minutes in. I got to kind of hustle on this a little bit, because when I was reading through this Debrief article from Mellon this morning, I knew it was long, and I'd kind of skimmed through it, and I've seen a couple other people talk about it. But I thought to myself, I'll be able to sit down this morning, because I woke up at like probably 9 o'clock this morning, 9 EST. I said, I'll go through here and I'll just pull a couple of these clips out, right? And or kind of some highlights, right? And then I started to read this thing. And the whole thing is highlights. I mean, the entire report is just packed front to back with interesting information, interesting takes. Now, the only thing that I'll say is that I say it's Christopher Mellon's report, which it is Christopher Mellon's report. However, what I think is important for people to know is that he had a lot of help putting this thing together. So I don't know how much of this he really penned himself and how much he dug out himself. I know he's got some of these like John Greenwald, a reference here, Barry Greenwood, Micah Hanks, Merrick von Rennenkampf. And there was another part of the report. Maybe I have the tweet. I might not have the tweet. However, we're not going to look at this report from this kind of a direction or this source. I took a lot of screenshots, because when you go through that report, what happens is you get these flashes, like you have these ads that pop up, and it's very, very annoying, and you kind of can't like look at this stuff and read it. So I took a bunch of these screenshots, and what we'll do is we'll just zoom in on these. So I took about, let me see, 16 screen grabs. And the link for the entire brief is in the description, so you guys can go read it. It is very, very long. It felt just as long as the AARO report was. But there was a lot of good information, so I will go over a couple of things that I pulled out that I think are interesting. And it goes in order from the article, these clips, obviously. So he says, first, whoever heard of a government report being submitted months before it was due, especially one so rife with embarrassing errors in desperate need of additional fact-checking and revision? Was AARO Director Sean Kirkpatrick rushing to get this report out of the door before departing? Perhaps to ensure that his successor could not revise or reverse some of the report's conclusions. Now, this is been a point of debate, I guess, for a lot of people, wondering whether or not, this was a good call from Mellon. A lot of people have said that Mellon usually complains that it takes too long to get things done through government. And now that this has come out a little bit early, he's complaining now. You can't win. He's always going to be mad about it. Look, to be fair, I think that since we already know there's a volume 2 of the report that's coming, and that AARO isn't actually shutting down anytime soon. Like, that's kind of the opposite of this entire situation. I understand where he's coming from, and I understand and I agree that they should probably fact check a little bit much more than they probably did, as well as, fix any spelling errors and things like that. They should take the time. But I think there's a lot more to come, and I don't want to get too petty too fast, right? We're not going to agree with everything AARO says, but we all, I think, can agree that there's the best lies are half truth. So there may or may not be some things we got to wait for, and we got to be maybe a little bit more patient on when it comes to, getting the further information, like volume 2, supposedly that's going to bring us more facts, more bar graphs, I'm hoping for, and, some more documents that kind of prove a lot of the claims that they're making. So interesting from him, but I feel his frustration. I want things moving forward too. Let me double check that this is actually going to slide 2. Is this going to slide 2? It sure is. Okay, so I can actually just click through this. That's going to be making things a whole lot easier on life for me. Now, this whole section I do want to read to you because the entire thing is actually pretty interesting. So there are going to be a couple of these slides. This is why I say this might take a minute, that I want to go over and read to you guys, because this is important. This is worth your time. It says, second, this appears to be the first AARO report submitted to Congress that the Director of National Intelligence did not sign off on, which is pretty interesting. I wonder why the DNI didn't. I don't know why. Yeah, me neither, Mellon. But Avril Haines and her office were quite right not to in this case, having spared themselves considerable embarrassment in the process. Third, this is the most error-ridden and unsatisfactory government report I can recall reading during or after decades of government service. We all make mistakes. We do. But this report is an outlier in terms of inaccuracies and errors. Were I reviewing this as a grad student's thesis, it would receive a failing grade for failing to understand the assignment. Sloppy and inadequate research and flawed interpretation of the data. Hopefully, long before it was submitted, the author would have consulted his or her professor and received some guidance and course correction to prevent such an unfortunate outcome. Hey, is Mellon upset? You guys think he's a little bit mad? Dude, I'm pretty sure he was like headbutting the space bar when he was writing this. Another irregularity worth noting is the fact that before its release, Department of Defense Public Affairs sponsored a closed-door pre-brief on the report's findings for a select group of press outlets on an invitation-only basis. Outlets like the Debrief, which closely follow the UAP issue, were excluded. Now, look, there's a lot of people that are... I mean, the Debrief, it is pretty biased. It is hard to say that that's like completely like a news outlet. There is a lot of bias, I think, and I think that's fair to put that assessment out there for them. However, I think everyone should be included. And, I meant to make a mention of this initially when I went over the whole AARO report before on the channel. I was going to say how I didn't like this. You got to let the media in, man. If you got nothing to hide, or if you don't want to spin a narrative in a certain direction, let everybody in. Like, this whole process from AARO, the whole point of all of this from them was supposedly to give us more clarity, to be more open with the general public about what's going on with UAPs and the government involvement. Closing the doors at the start to not everybody, it kind of goes backwards a little bit. So I definitely agree. I didn't like that. It says, following the report's release, most of the news agencies that had participated in the pre-brief went on to publish articles that uncritically parroted the report's findings. And that's something people are going to worry about, guys. That's what they're worried about. Moreover, they seem to have done so without consulting any of the scholars or experts who have studied and written extensively on this topic, as would normally be the case in another field. Yeah. So, good point. I can't disagree with it, man. You got to be able to let as many people get involved that they can make comments. open journalism, open news. Can't disagree with him more. So this was a good point that he brought up. I mean, it was a good point, but I also wanted to read it because I kind of wanted to get my thought on that for you guys too, because I kind of missed that. I want to make up for that. The next part here, and you guys are not going to be able to see unless I do that because of how I got this thing set up here. Okay. That America's leading press outlets missed the problems and issues identified below and failed to present an alternative perspective is itself typical of the stigmatized history of UAP press coverage since World War II. Those interested in the role of the press on the UAP topic may want to read Terry Henderson's provocative book, The Missing Times. So I think I grabbed this part mainly to talk about, the stigma, from what he's mentioned here, right? Leading press outlets missed the problems and issues identified below and failed to present an alternative perspective. It is typical of the stigmatized history of UAP coverage. So he's just saying, look, man, there's still stigma going on. And this is a example of why there's stigma, We're not getting all the angles. The disappointing lack of critical press coverage of this important report prompted me to begin compiling the insights of UAP scholars and experts who have studied the history of UAP and the U.S. government. So he got all of these people together. I hope the observations below will prove helpful to members of Congress and the public seeking to understand the history of the U.S. government's involvement with UAP. Perhaps when AARO publishes Volume 2 of its report, some effort will be made by the mainstream press to consult UAP subject matter experts before rushing their articles to print. Yeah, and he's really... So you see what I'm saying, guys? Like, there is so much to this. I mean, every paragraph, it's like, man, I thought there was going to be more filler, but it's all interesting. One of the other concerns I have about press coverage of this report is the tendency to conflate the UAP topic generally with allegations the government has recovered off-world technology. The UAP issue is distinct and critically important regardless of the truth about allegations of recovered extraterrestrial non-human technology. Asking AARO to investigate the allegation was unfortunate since a subordinate DoD or IC office finding its superiors innocent was never going to satisfy the critics anyway. He just threw the whole task force out right there, or the entire group of AARO. He's like, look, you're asking these guys to tell on themselves. They're never going to do that. Could they ever really tell us the truth? I mean, this is one thing that I talked about with Kirkpatrick. Was he covering up the truth because he had to? Was there no real way for him to tell us what's going on? If he would have went to Manhattan to discover what was going on, could he have came back during the Manhattan Project and told us? I just don't think so. I don't see it. This is too big of a topic, man. It's too big of a deal for them to have just come out in a report like this from a government agency and say, hey, look, yeah, we've got ET. It's all here. Here's the technology. You'd probably do it a different way, right? A more official way. Maybe Congress, right? Next one here. Now, these aren't all full paragraph reads, trust me, but there are a few here. Like I said, this was hard to pick. Moreover, a disruptive secret of the colossal magnitude affecting every person on the planet would never be revealed in a report to Congress from a mid-level official organization. Okay, so I just said that. So I thought that was from that area before, but yeah, he mentions that right here. Only the president or an independent congressional investigation could reasonably be expected to reveal such a profound and transformative issue. I agree with Mellon on this. Yeah, you still want it more official. Who really expected Sean Kirkpatrick to come out and tell you aliens are real, guys? Did you do that? I didn't expect it. I can't lie. If Congress wants to be confident it knows the truth, it needs to conduct its own independent investigation. I can't agree more. Again, that's why on this channel, everybody, I've been doing my damnedest to stay on the heels of Congress and following what they're doing, what the UAP caucus is doing. And we're going to talk about a little bit more of that throughout the show here when we get to the stuff with Congress. There wasn't a whole lot that came out with Congress this week, but there was enough to kind of reach back and touch base with that comment. Now, in the meantime, Congress and the public deserve a great deal more transparency and clarity regarding U.S. government data on the UAP issue. Too many well-documented incidents are occurring at too many locations, a problem greatly exacerbated by the rise of sophisticated drone technologies. Man, Mellon can write, can't he? Listen to that line. A problem greatly exasperated by the rise of sophisticated drone technologies. Say what you want. He is a well-educated man, huh? If you don't think this is a serious issue, consider that just a few months ago, fighter aircraft were transferred from Langley Air Force Base in Virginia to Naval Air Station, Oceana, after weeks of intrusions by unidentified drone-like craft. The Air Force seemed powerless to capture or deter these intruders and has still not been able to identify them. Similar incidents have been affecting Navy warships and other bases around the country. Now, here's the thing. I don't fully agree with him on this. If you guys remember, I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago when we talked about the incursions that were going over Langley. And I can't remember the general that was being interviewed in front of Congress there. And they were asking him, about what was going on. And he said that they've dominated these. And the member of Congress, I can't think off the top of my head, their name is, he said that, the only reason why there's been any kind of miscommunication or misunderstanding of how to deal with certain of these drone incursions in these areas was due to the fact of them being in residential locations. They didn't know how to deal with that scenario outside of like a war case. They know how to deal with these drone incursions when they're in a war zone. But when it gets to like residential areas, that's where things got a little bit murky. But that wasn't that they didn't have the power to do it. It's just that the plan of attack that they were doing it with is something that they were working on, which I could believe that. So the word powerless here from Mellon is very weird to me. I don't know if he's seen some of these conversations lately that's been going on with this, but powerless is not what I took from that. Not at all. I think when you look at, I guess maybe even give a good example. I mean, look at that Iron Dome that's going on over there in Israel. I mean, you think they're the only ones that have that kind of stuff? I mean, we have incredible, I'm sure, anti-drone, anti-missile technology in this country. Now, do we plant that stuff all over the place around our area? Or is it around residential neighborhoods? We build that stuff up? Maybe not. But I think that the technology is there to handle the stuff. They just got to get the logistics down on how they're going to do it, right? Okay, we're moving on here. Might go an hour and a half today, boys and girls. Might go an hour and a half. So I wanted to be fair. There are things that I disagree with Mellon on this. I kind of want to give a couple of our perspectives on that. Now it says hopefully volume 2. Okay, no. Oh yeah. Okay. So this was, I thought, very interesting here. Volume 2 is due on about June 15th, 2024. So we got the date. Got the date here, boys and girls. I'm not used to saying girls, but I feel like I got to say that. I got to be inclusive. It's just, I just say boys, man. Hopefully if there are any women that watch the channel, which I don't know how many do. I know Heather Birdie comes in here from time to time. But if there are, hey, if I just say boys, please don't be offended. It's just the way that I talk. Anyway, back to what we're talking about. Volume 2 is due on about June 15th, 2024, which I haven't heard anybody else make mention of this. To be honest, and I don't want to act like I'm doing some crazy deep dive on this. I haven't really seen anyone do much of a deep dive on this. So I don't know how many people are actually reading this thing, are as crazy as me and sat down and read this whole thing in one sitting. Nothing left on that page that I thought was actually that interesting. We'll go over the highlighted section here. All right. In another breach of the explicit terms of the law, AARO failed to compile, itemize, and report on U.S. intelligence agency abuses on UAP. So this was a big point of contention for Christopher Mellon as well, as he said that the AARO was actually supposed to talk about all of these, I guess, disinformation campaigns, essentially. The ways that the government has kind of covered this topic up or made people look foolish, or I think he even mentions a little bit here, include a compilation, itemization of key historical records of the involvement of the intelligence community with the UAP, including any efforts to obfuscate, manipulate public opinion. Richard Doty. Little shout out to Richard Doty here. Hide or otherwise provide incorrect, unclassified, or classified information about UAP. So he's saying, look, man, they were supposed to by law, and he gives these statutes here, these codes. I'm sure if you look these up, I'm sure you can probably get to what he's talking about here on these. But that's what he's saying. Look, they're leaving things out that they were mandated to go over. And we don't have them yet. So I agree with him. However, maybe we have to wait a little bit longer. They're going to get involved with that a little bit more down the road. Like we said, this program isn't over in 1 or 2 reports. It is ongoing. However, still a good point. At the end of the day, if I was AARO, you could look at that statement from him and be like, oh yeah, okay, on the next one we need to go over this. You know, if you want to have some good resilience from somebody swinging at you, from earlier, calling you a bad grad student and everything like that. If you wanted to kind of, have a thick skin and take the criticism, this was a good little reminder for them of what they need to kind of look at going forward. Maybe they need it, maybe they don't. Let me see. I did a double screenshot. Is this the first one? Okay, so this is, I couldn't screenshot the whole page with everything. So this section that we're about to go over is in 2 different screenshots. So this is the first part of the screenshot that I could get for you guys. Excessive secrecy. This is pretty interesting. In the past, extreme and excessive secrecy has been displayed in efforts to hide unclassified or classified UAP-related information, illustrated by the AARO predecessor's UAP Security Classification Guide. First distributed internally on April 16, 2020. It says see graphic below, and I believe we will here in a moment. Which is itself heavily redacted, removing most of the indications of the type of UAP report content requiring classification. This is a binding secrecy regulation. Don't be fooled by the word guide. It is absolutely mandatory. The secrecy regulation specifically states that only a general statement of an increase in UAP sightings can be released to the public, and without any further information regarding when or where a UAP sighting has been reported, as that is classified. Additionally, the times and places of the UAP detections are classified and are required to be unspecified and can't be released. It is not unclassified. So he's saying, how much can we really talk about? How much are we really even allowed to get from AARO when we talk about the classifications of a lot of these sightings, the information on a lot of these sightings? He doesn't seem to think that they can talk about very much because of prior mandate, prior of that guide. It's mandatory. So here he kind of expands on this a little bit more. This is really interesting. The internal Pentagon talking points on the UAP subject are a gag order that specifically forbids DoD officials from even revealing to the media and the public the fact that virtually everything about UAP is unreleasable, citing the above security classification regulation. Specifically, it states, except for its existence and the mission purpose, virtually everything else about the UAPTF, that was the UAP Task Force, is classified per the signed security classification guide. It's very interesting, man. This could be a lot of the reason of why we didn't get so many examples from the AARO report. I think that's what he's saying here, because a lot of us have been kind of complaining and saying, hey, look, we want more than trust me, bro. And I think Mellon is alluding to why. And if he's right, he's right. If he's wrong, he's wrong. I'm not saying that, but I'm just simply saying he's alluding to this is probably why we got so much trust me, bro. Similar UAP security regulations, no doubt, are applied throughout the U.S. government. This is not one single item of government information about a UAP sighting that is not classified according to the secrecy regulation. Why is that? How can the U.S. government be transparent about UAP sighting incidents if nothing will be released? Yeah. How can we expect to get a whole lot of extra data? Who knows what they know about the Nimitz encounter at this point? If you're to believe that this is true, if Mellon is right, maybe that's why they didn't cover Nimitz. Because they just can't talk about a lot of it. I don't know. Not saying that's the answer. I'm just saying, look, take a look at this. This is interesting commentary from Mellon on this report. It's really, really interesting, man. Next slide. What are we in a college class? Next slide. It says, call AARO the new blue book, he says. I agree. I think it is the new blue book. Speaking of which, the report utterly fails to convey any of the fundamental flaws or national controversies that dogged Project Blue Book, including the admission by its own chief scientist that Blue Book was a deeply flawed Air Force public relations effort to dispel public and congressional concerns rather than objective inquiry. I relate to that. Is that not what it sounds like? This AARO report that's getting put out to Congress? Hey, don't worry about it. There's nothing extraterrestrial. Roswell was test dummies. It was Project Mogul. I agree. It's doing the exact same thing. I'll read this again. Deeply flawed Air Force public relations effort to dispel public and congressional concerns. How many people in the public have been turning away since this report? I think a lot. I think Kurt Jaimungal that we talked about last week is a really good example of that. He's a very public figure. He's turning away. A lot of people are getting upset. We're not getting anywhere. You know, the other side of ufology, Lou Elizondo and Grush and these guys and these other whistleblowers, they haven't come out and done they haven't tried to really kind of pull a big trump card on these guys. And that's one other thing I'll mention before we go to the next slide on this thing. Is that, look, this is an interesting response from Chris Mellon. I mean, I like any kind of response. It took a while to get. I mean, I think it's been like at least 3 weeks since that report came out. Let me just drink, guys, real quick. It's been at least 3 weeks. And it's interesting. Is this exactly what we want? No, it's not exactly what we want. You know, we want the 23-minute video. That's the response that we want to something like this, right? So we're seeing it reverberate through the public and Congress, and we're really going to see it through Congress nearing the end of the show here when I pull up some stuff that came out from Laszlo with Congress. It's very, very interesting. So keep that in mind. Now, when we talked about mistakes going forward or back a little ways, Mellon was kind of giving them a lot of crap for making a lot of mistakes. There were some interesting things here that he kind of underlined throughout the report, and then he kind of gave his notes on it. Like this one right here, project name was Stork, not Bear, and UFOs were Stork Subproject PPS 100. I had never even heard of Project Bear at the time, so I can't even like agree that this or tell you that this is 100% correct, that it wasn't Project Bear. Like we went over in the AARO report, not sure. It's interesting enough. And he's saying the dates are wrong on this. But the one that it stood out to me is he says Project Blue Book, March 1952 to December 1969. And he says that that's not correct. I mean, everywhere says 69. Above here, he actually amends this and says January 30th, 1970. I've never heard it as 1970, January 30th. I don't know if you guys have it all, but that's news to me. I've never heard it being 70. I've always heard it being 69. 69. Okay, enough. Grow up, will you? He says, report is not a project. Date wrong too. Man, he's swinging. Dude, he is swinging at him, huh? So once again, if you want to go through this report, you'll find this, and your mileage may vary on what you agree with him to be as fact or not. So it's very interesting. We are on slide 10. There's a few more of these guys. Holy. Yeah, this one's actually pretty important too. AARO may have partnered with the National Archives in retrieving old Air Force Project Blue Book files, but AARO seems to think there are only 65,778 pages of Blue Book files, instead of the actual total of some 130,000 pages. Is AARO aware that there are 130,000 pages of Air Force UAP files on microfilm at the National Archives, and some additional files that were never microfilmed? I don't know. It doesn't sound like it, Mellon. It doesn't sound like it. I'm sure they know now. I'm sure they read this. All that anyone has to do is check the fold3ancestry.com website. Look, he's getting plugs. He's plugging Ancestry. What's going on? Is he getting a cut of this thing or what? Available on the internet since 2007 to find its total Blue Book page count of 129,658 pages. Listen, I'm going to underline this here, okay? You said it's 130. Now you're saying it's 129, sir. Do your research. Round off to 130. Well, you know what, Mellon? Maybe that's what they did with Blue Book. Maybe they just rounded it off. They said, you know what? December, January, what's the difference? We like the 69 number better than the 70 number. We're sticking it in there at 69. Wow, there's a lot of pun involved right there. So don't be a hypocrite, Mellon, okay? It's either okay to round for you and if it's okay to round for everybody, all right? Page count includes 6,000 Air Force Office of Special Investigations, AFOSI. Try to say that 6 times fast. Some duplicative of the files and released with Blue Book. And again, it's documented that many records files are missing. Okay, so plane landed on that. So he goes over, hey, there's a ton of files missing. These guys aren't really doing their job. Once again, that may be true. We'll have to see what goes on. Let me see. Let me look at these next couple of guys because let me see which ones are actually the ones I want to go over. We can probably skip a couple of these. Let me see. Okay, this one was actually, wait, we'll do this one next in a second after this one. All right. Yeah, this was important here too. All right. I'm going to skip a couple of these last ones just for time's sake. You guys can go through them. They're interesting enough. The annual AARO report seems to conveniently fail to mention that that when these new 171 unidentified UAP reports are added to the previous UAP task force's 143 unidentified, the grand total of 314 unidentified out of 510 represent a formidable 62% unexplained and unidentified. So what he's talking about is there are a lot of these reports. I thought I had more on this. I thought I did. But he's just simply saying here that there's a lot of reports. When you really look at what AARO has actually figured out, 62% of them are unexplained and unidentified. So here they are, with 62% saying there's no extraterrestrial involvement, but they haven't even explained more than half. So, interestingly enough. We already seen that. They're folding in. They're watering down the data. That one's not as interesting. What's our last one here? We'll wrap it up with the conclusion. We'll go over this conclusion really quick and end this for you guys. Okay? And we'll go to the last couple of things that we want to go to for our Sora videos and everything else. So conclusion. As documented above, AARO has not complied with the statutory orders from Congress for a detailed history of UAP sightings as recorded in U.S. government's historical records, instead providing a limited history of flawed U.S. government investigations of UAP. There was no examination of the impact of stigma on the UFO subject, witnesses, and persons interested in it, aggressively implemented by the Air Force and supported by the Air Force-instigated CIA Robertson Panel, despite the legal requirement for AARO to document the history of intelligence agency manipulation of public opinion and other abuses. So these are the things that he wants. And I'm going to jump down here. Yet, as AARO itself acknowledged in its first report to Congress, the stigma surrounding the topic has been a central problem in terms of getting government personnel or scientists to report or study UAP. Yeah. So he's saying, look, man, we got to go over everything. We need more. We got to go over the stigma. The stigma's caused a lot of problem, and I really do think the stigma's coming back. I do think it is coming back, and I got a clip that I'm going to play for you guys that I think shows that. And it's new. It's new. So that's a little breakdown of that report. A very little, because it may seem like a lot to you guys, but trust me, that report is huge. Where do we want to go next? We got a lot that we got to go over here. Congress. Let's do Congress next here. Okay. Do we got the clip here? Ask a poll. That's not what I wanted. So there's a clip from Ask a Poll this week that goes over the skiff that they're putting together. Oh yeah, look at this. Here's Jon Stewart. Bombshell soon. I'll be revealing the photo of the man who masterminded the 91 S2 S4 alien interrogation film theft. A former DIA State Department employee, Joseph Yeager. See, unlike everyone in the UFO world, I give you names, documents, photos, dates, and video. I love this picture of Jon Stewart. He's talking about the alien interview that we talked about last week with the doctor's arm that had the sleeve up and everything. He's saying, look, I gave you the name of the guy. What do you want from me? he's got the come at me face. Look at him. He's like, I'm telling you guys the truth. That's pretty good. I got distracted along the way as I'm looking for this stuff, okay? I got a little distracted. I could get distracted a lot. I mean, there's so much going on here with it. Here it is. Here it is. We found it, boys. Once in a while, we get to the point around here. All right. Why do you put it down here so far, Laszlo? So yeah, this is going to be the details on next week's AARO skiff briefing for the UAP caucus. All right. So they're going to be talking to AARO, UAP caucus. This is good. This is good.
How you doing, boss?
Hey, how are you?
Good recess.
You guys are out of town. I do too.
Right? You got any updates on anything?
I don't. Johnson has said no.
Yeah.
He's had no response.
But I mean, he's got to bring fines. He's got Ukraine. He's got a motion to vacate hanging over his head.
Yeah, I think that it's probably, in his mind, it's not a priority.
Yeah. How do you guys make it a priority? Or is this the case to give you all the subcommittees so you don't have to go through dad and dad?
I don't know. I think that for me, I'm just trying to plow forward with what tools I have, which is why I like organizing this briefing from AARO and a skiff.
So yeah, so we have that rate from Burleson. They're gonna do a skiff meeting with AARO. Very, very cool. Now at the beginning of that clip, excuse me, he makes a mention, and I'm trying to remember what exactly he was talking about, where he says, hey, you know, the guy's not interested. Where am I at here on this? I'm trying to remember. And by the way, while I'm looking, shout out to Askapol, Matt Laszlo, for this. It's always awesome when he goes over this. Any updates on anything? And I think they're talking about the actual select committee. U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson has said nothing. He's had no response. So they're not hearing anything all about that. However, they are doing the skiff that's coming up. So that's pretty cool. Let me go back to our clip here and we'll get a little bit more information from Burleson on it.
I'm doubtful that I'm going to hear the truth from them.
Yeah.
But at least I think that we just need to keep the ball rolling. We need to keep moving the ball forward.
I agree that they definitely need to keep the ball moving forward. Yeah, I mean, also he mentions there, as you heard, he doesn't think he's really going to get the truth from him. He doesn't expect much truth, right? So it is interesting that he's going in there with that kind of a view, which, hey, look, I like it. I like how he's skeptical. That means he's going to get in there and ask really good questions. That's how we're going to get to the truth. If we can really put, facts to the fire on this and see where everything is going. So it's moving forward. It's moving forward. It's slow. It's slow. It's small bites, everybody. But yeah, we're getting a little bit of movement. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff from Congress this week, to be honest. This was like the really big news that came out of it. How you doing, Alien Girl? Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming and hanging out. Well, Rotary says it's been a sausage fest in here. Dude, ufology is a sausage fest. Come on. It is. It always is. Nah, it's so cool that you came by and stopped by. Go follow her. Go follow her channel. She's a lot of fun. She's the morning show. She's daily on the mornings. I sleep in a little bit too late to catch your show, Alien Girl. At least catch it live, But you always want to go back and take a look at what's going on over there. It's a good time. So yeah, back to what I was saying. Yeah, there hasn't been a whole lot, but this is actually cool. So there hasn't been a lot, but there was a big chunk for me. That's cool that we have a briefing that's coming out a little bit further here. All right. And let me get where my point is here. Okay. Now, I mentioned earlier when we were going through the response with Mellon, right, that we wanted to look at, how Congress was kind of taking the AARO situation or even Grush, how is Congress dealing with all of this? I bookmarked this earlier in the week and I didn't really realize what I bookmarked until I opened it up. Cause like anything that Laszlo mentions that could be involved with UFOs or anything UAP related, I bookmark right off the top. You know, I don't want to waste any time on it because it could be very, very interesting. And when I opened this up yesterday, as I was kind of going through the news and kind of putting my bookmarks, the ones I wanted and what I didn't, this came up. This is a breakdown of, I guess I should start at the top, 100 out of 100 U.S. senators on UFO whistleblower David Grush. So this is their take. He asked them all. And the cool thing that he did about this for us is he actually put it on a spreadsheet of all of the responses that they got. Right? So you see right at the top here, and maybe this is a better way to do it. Can I do it? No, because I can't zoom in that way. I'll just leave it like this. Hopefully you guys can see this. If I pull it over too far, you won't be able to see it, the right side of the screen anymore if I zoom in anymore, so I don't really want to do that. Right at the top, Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell, Mark Warner, Marco Rubio. So let's look at a couple of these people. Chuck Schumer, Democrat, aware, no comment. He's aware of David Grush, but he makes no comment. Mitch McConnell, aware, no comment. Mark Warner, investigating. Marco Rubio, investigating, which I want to hear more from Rubio. I can't lie. I don't know what we're sitting around waiting for him. I mean, obviously, we'd like to hear from Warner. He's the chair of the damn committee. But he kind of laughed at the Grush thing, right? So I don't know. He knows of him, but I mean, they're looking into it. But I want to hear more from Rubio. Rubio he's just more boisterous, and he gives maybe not boisterous. I don't know how to, I guess, describe it. He seems like he's more willing to talk about this more when he does. Like when he gets going, it's interesting. Like when he speaks, it's interesting on the topic. John, Corinne, unaware, and we'll go down the list here. I don't know all these people, and I'm sure you guys don't know either. But a lot of the interesting part is not just the people who have responded, but like what these responses are. So aware, no comment, investigating, unaware, aggressively unaware, aggressively unaware. How do you even judge that? How can you judge if something's aggressively unaware? Aware, no comment. And it goes through 100 of these people: investigating, not looked into. So I did the best that I could. And if you cheated at the start of the video and you looked at my notes, if you cheated, you might have got a little bit of what I kind of came up with. So out of 100 out of 100 senators, the chart, around 40%. And I say around because there's like some weird ones here where they say like vaguely aware. You know, so I'm leaving a little bit of a playroom here. Around 40% aren't even aware of David Grush. Unaware. Interesting. It's getting up there, closer to half. Around 30% of this entire list, look at this list, man, it's huge. Around 30% are aware, but they haven't looked into it. Around 24% are those aware and are investigating David Grush. And then the last 6% or so either mocked or dismissed. And what you can see, he put those in blue, which honestly, I would have put the mocking in red, you know? That's, it's mean, you know, it's red, it's mocking, uninterested. Ron Johnson, I got a fly in my room here. Ron Johnson, you're uninterested. Why are you uninterested, Ron Johnson? Come on, how could you be not interested in David Grush? I mean, I know it's been a while and we haven't got what we wanted out of him yet, but how would you be not interested? Sherrod Brown from Ohio, dismissive. Well, there's a lot that goes on from Ohio, right? With a lot of the cover-ups. Maybe that's why she's like, nothing. The chair of banking she is. Okay, well, maybe she can be dismissive and it won't matter. She's the chair of banking over there. Energy committee, unaware. Foreign relations, aware, not looked into. Cory Booker, Tim Scott. So yeah, I mean, dude, this is incredible to me. Look at this list, man. I mean, Laszlo is getting down and dirty, and he's giving us all these updates on what's going on, and we can find out exactly what these Congress people think about what's going on. We get a good awareness of it. So yeah, I thought that was awesome. 40% aren't even aware of Grush. That's not awesome. We got to get those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers, huh? We got to boost those numbers up. What is this? Wolf of Wall Street? Wolf of Wall Street here. Okay, a couple of things that I am going to skip. There was a post that Jeremy McGowan put out about Elizondo, this kind of drop where it was more of the back and forth argument about whether or not Lou ran ATIP and what happened with ATIP. These are here. I was going to go over this stuff if we had time, but I don't think it's actually dire to go over it. It's just kind of an interesting fact. So I'm going to skip that. What I'm not going to skip, though, about Elizondo this week is that we did have a little update about his book. Again, this book every week gets an update. And we want to keep tracking it because, like I said, I'm going to, when I read the book, I want to do an episode on the channel of every single chapter and go spot by spot by spot. And kind of go over the entire book. Where is this at? Where's this clip, man? Here it is. Okay, so this is Danny Sheehan on The Big Thing. And I think I have the link for this in the description, but we're going to get a little update from Sheehan, which obviously Danny Sheehan is Lou Elizondo's lawyer. So if anybody's going to know and be in the know here with Lou, it's probably going to be Sheehan. What you think of Sheehan, your mileage may vary, but, let's listen to this.
How important, obviously, he is to all of this. And there's this news about his book. And the last time on a recent podcast, you had said that at that time that we were going to get his book in roughly like 6 weeks. And there's been recent disinformation on that.
Yeah, where's the book, Sheehan? Stop over-promising and under-delivering.
Do you have any updates about the book itself?
No, I'm actually sending I've just got a text from Lou. Just a second.
No, I don't have any information, but I got information.
No, the thing is that the book is in front of the Defense Department pre-publication review and security group, and that they've been dragging their heels. There's only a few spots where they're kind of kibitzing with him.
Kibitzing? Can somebody look up the definition of kibitz? Dude, I have never heard that word in my life. Kibitzing. I don't even know what that means, Danny. Come on. Break it down to layman's terms a little bit for me. I do okay with vocabulary, but kibitz is, dude, it sounds like kibbles. Like kibbles and bits. Is that kibbles and bits put together? Kibitz? Kibbles and bits? We talking cat food or the book, Sheehan? Jesus.
About what they're saying is that what he has said in the book in a couple places does not, in fact, directly reveal any information that is national security information, but they're concerned that it might lead people in the direction of looking at some of. Okay, so Dopser is a little bit afraid, supposedly, of what he just said, it leading the direction of people where they don't want them to look. I don't know. This is news. Obviously, we want to get the book. Everybody wants to read this damn thing, dude. So any kind of information that comes out about it, you guys will know here as soon as I can get it to you. That is, when it does come out, just know I'm following along. So if you don't want to follow along, don't. I am. I'll do the legwork for you. Moody Mongol says kibitzing, unsolicited / unwanted advice. Oh, okay. I got you. So book has nothing. I'm trying to read that part. When I read the chat, there's like a heart emoji or whatever down at the bottom, and it covers up like some of the most recent chat. So I have to kind of move it. So book has nothing. Don't buy it. I mean, look, you don't have to buy the book. No doubt about it. You don't have to buy the book if you don't want to. Make up your own mind if you want to go over it. I'm going to go over it for you. So maybe if you just want to save it, save your shekels for something else, something more interesting to you, sure, you could. I'm sure if James Fox was here, he would say, you know what, don't buy the book, Rotary. Save it for my new documentary. He would appreciate that. James Fox is supporting not buying Lou Elizondo's book. I'm kidding, of course. All right. So the book got held up. A couple more things here that are pretty interesting. Let me see. You guys want to go to our AI clips? Let's go to Sora clips, huh? Let's start wrapping this thing up, man. We've went a while here. We're at hour 10. Okay. So there's a couple, as you know, on this channel, everybody does. We do talk a little AI, mostly just like the Sora videos. We kind of look at some of the cool stuff that's going on with AI. Oh, before we do that, take a look at this. Let's have an ADHD moment. Even though I don't have ADHD, let's have one of those moments. John Greenwald says, view the eclipse from the space, or the view of the eclipse from the space station will never get old. Look at that. The eclipse was obviously big into the news. There it is. Pretty neat. Dude, oh my God. The devastation. Imagine if that was like war mark or like an asteroid that hit, dude. Look at that. Dude. It's cool, but it's also scary because it does have that black hole or destruction vibe to it, right? All right, so this guy kind of moving on to some of our AI Sora stuff. Suno got competition. He says, welcome Udio, taking AI generated music to 11. So there's another new platform out here, guys. If you want to check out Udio, make your own music with AI. I know Skyfire News, shout out to them. They do some really awesome music. And I'm wondering if Udio is part of that because they make some custom songs for their show. This is an interesting clip, guys. We're going to end on this one when we get to it here. The cybersecurity panel. Very cool. And this I thought was interesting too. So Chinese AI drone system aims to hit fires in hard to reach places before they turn into big blazes. How cool is that, huh? No audio, guys. We got killed for the audio on that one. So no audio of this here. But look at these drones. We said last week, who's going to have a job once AI really takes over? Firefighters aren't even going to have a job. Look at that. And I'm wondering if those are actually like scanning for the fire and they can see it, or if it's the camera that the drone operators are actually seeing and they're spraying the fire. They're pointing in the target. I don't know. Pretty cool though, no? Usually you have to get somebody up on a ladder, right? That's awesome. So that's coming. That's coming. They're improving it every day. Every single day we're getting the improvements. This was another really, really cool one here. I think I've seen this clip. I think it's an older one, but you may not have seen it because I think I've seen it maybe once and never again. So I want to kind of people to take an interesting look at, a little bit what the robotics is going on. And the reason why I bring that up is because, we're seeing, we're kind of wondering what's going to happen with AI, quantum computing, robotics, and how that's all going to come together over time. Look at this. If you guys ever seen this, this is pretty cool. Obviously, she unfortunately lost her arm, but don't worry. Science is coming in. Look at that. That's so cool. And the interesting thing about this, and I don't know if they mention or not, is when you look at how the interaction with her and the pressure from the hand. So she puts the knife in her hand. She's obviously able to hold it really tightly, right? And be able to make cuts with it, with a knife. But then, as you'll see here a little bit later on in the clip, see how she holds the grapes? She's able to pick a grape and not smush it. So it's not only is it sensing I'm taking the electrical signatures from her brain and that they're telling it to move, but she's actually able to control the pressure that she's putting on it. God, so cool. Is it iRobot or not, huh? Is iRobot not coming? Very, very neat, man. Very, very neat. And I think I picked a couple different Sora videos. So this is the main one here. This is the Sora video of the week right here. C-3PO Childish Gambino by Daniel Ecker. This says 100% AI official music video. Now, obviously we cannot play the music, but we're going to watch a little bit of this here. Oh, I almost played the music. We almost got nailed again. 100% AI. Look at the detail. 14 times or 16 times the detail. That was the joke from Fallout from the video game with Todd Howard. If you guys catch the reference or not. This is so cool. Look at the editing. The editing's great. It would really look great if you had the music going on, because you time those edits, right? But I like the transitions. I like the transitions, the zooms, the cuts. Wow, look at that. That was really cool. For AI to be doing this, watch this. Watch this where it comes in like a triangle, goes the two clips together. Ready? Boom, boom. Oh, that's so cool. And then the zoom back out. Man, oh man, it's getting technical. If you remember going back to one of the first long form clips that we showed, it was that alien that was kind of just like walking through New York, right? And the camera stayed on him the whole time. There wasn't a lot of cuts. There wasn't a lot of anything like that at all. But this is showing not only, cuts that are being done, but now effect work. We're actually getting effect work. It's not just going from scene to scene. Man, I wish I could play the music. But that's cool. Look at the detail, man. Oh, man. The definition is great. You got Snoop Dogg in there, huh? You got the Pope in there. You got the Pope playing cards with Mickey Mouse? Elon, Kanye, Yoda. Dude, this is... So that's pretty crazy. I think it's a pretty good example for the week, huh? You know, we'll finish it out. There's only 30, 40 more seconds. Who doesn't like Chewbacca? I can never get enough of Chewbacca. We'll watch a little bit more. I like how they pick Star Wars too, right? This is a really good way to, I think, show off just how powerful the AI is getting. There's so much... Star Wars is just a dynamic universe already. You know, you got so many different images you can pull from, styles, art themes. It's just very, very cool. And obviously they're adding the Bitcoin in there. So they're wrapping it up into modern times a little bit too. He's got isn't that a Star Trek pin? Is he wearing a Star Trek pin? Am I crazy on that? Somebody's like, dude, no. What do you mean? So there it is. Very cool. Min Choi. I want to give this guy a shout out too. I don't know him or he doesn't know me or anything like that. But this is the guy that I follow on Twitter that has a lot of these Sora AI videos that he pops up. So it's very cool. So if you want to follow Min Choi here on YouTube, he's going to be giving you more and more videos throughout the week. So we do the one. Let me see. We did the space for the Greenwald photo. Let me go over the last bit here. Okay, we're going to wrap up on this clip right here, guys, okay? So I have been harping on the stigma returning lately. I think, as I mentioned before, the Super Bowl commercials were a really good example of how Mountain Dew is you know, using the flying saucer, and they're kind of making fun of it. They're laughing at it, apartments.com. And I don't really feel like maybe even a lot of people agree with me on that. But I think when we look at this recent panel that was from the cybersecurity. So this is from Reed Summers. I'm not sure who Reed Summers is, but you know, it's his post. So I guess we'll give him a shout out. It says, well, I was able to ask my question about UAP and world security to the panel on cybersecurity, threat intelligence, and espionage, but couldn't be answered because no one at the conference on world affairs seems to know what UAP even is, or if they do, why it should. Okay? So this is pretty interesting. I'm going to play the clip and you watch how they react and see if it's kind of going pre-2017 a little bit maybe.
I'm getting words or things that I don't understand. I don't know what a UAP is. I don't know what a UPN is. But
oh, those silly UAPs.
How does the potential threat of UAP technological capability factor into security concerns for this country? And what is UAP?
Unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Oh, that's right. We don't call them that.
We do not.
Anymore.
How much more uncomfortable can he be? Like he knew he had that feeling inside, right, where he wanted to correct the guy. He had the information. You ever get that? I think they make a joke about it in that show movie Mean Girls, where she goes word vomit. Here it comes. He had a word vomit moment. He had to jump out and tell him what UAP was, but he still is uncomfortable about it.
Laura, come on.
Okay, so UFOs are doing what?
how do UAPs factor into this?
Right. How does the potential threat of UAP
Our
technological capability factor into security concerns for this country or the world?
I will confidently say that I am not an expert in UAPs. Do you know anything about aliens?
Do you know anything about aliens? Those silly aliens. There's no aliens.
I come in peace.
I have no idea.
Three Body Problem's really good on Netflix. I know that.
Sick name drop, bro. Sick name drop.
I mean, that's all going to be classified, but I mean, threat is a threat.
I thought they declassified all of it.
Area 51, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish I did. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, Area 51. I don't know. These people are crazy that believe this stuff.
No idea.
Do you know what a UPN is?
Yeah. So there you go. Look, it's weird. I feel like even last year, I don't know if they have laughed at it like this. It's just weird, man. I don't know. I keep seeing the topic going in this direction again. And then the longer it goes, the more this is going to pile on, the more that AARO kind of goes uncontested. I mean, look, the Mellon's response is awesome in a lot of respects, and it's very, very cool to hear that stuff. And we kind of went over that, but there needs to be more. There simply needs to be more. We need more evidence to come out. We need a whistleblower who's really going to go ahead and drop some hard evidence, some video or some documents that can really kind of get the ball down the field more and change the perspective from the public. These people, they're on the cybersecurity panel, and they're smart people. I'm sure these guys are all, and her as well. I'm sure they're all very smart people, but the smart people are still laughing. They're still laughing. And if there isn't a larger response than even Elizondo's book, I think the laughing is going to continue, and it's probably going to get louder. And when we look at kind of where the world's going right now and the potential for the rest of the year, with not only the election that's coming up, but just what's going on, take a look at the Middle East. A lot of this will fall to the wayside in priority. And where does that really leave us? I don't know. The end of the year and really what's going to go on, well, not to the end of the year, but the rest of the year and where we're going to be at next year is very, very unknown. And it just keeps, I don't know, it keeps becoming more and more unknown over time. So we'll have to see how it turns out. Look, there was a lot to go over this week. I don't think that there was a lot of groundbreaking stuff, but there was a lot of little things that I think over time will add up. And we'll have to just see where everything lands. I have to see where it really all lands. But that's an hour and a half. I did better. An hour and 23. I maybe went, a little bit earlier than I thought. But yeah, once again, guys, if you enjoyed today, please do like, share, and subscribe. If you haven't took a chance to see the Philip Mantle interview I did with him about the Pascagoula abduction and his book, please go check that out. I'm really proud of it. I think a lot of people really enjoyed it, as you'll see. And I think there's a lot to learn from it about that case. And we'll continue to wait for more information from Philip to come out over time. But yeah, like, share, subscribe, get it out there. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Yeah. We'll see you guys next time at Terrestrial Material. Have a great night.